Good morning and welcome to Central Pennsylvania Food Bank's Harrisburg Healthy Hub. My name is Shyla Ulrich, and it is my distinct honor to serve as president here at the food bank. I'd like to welcome Senator Patty Kim, Secretary Redding, and Secretary Arkush today as we talk about some important things happening within our state. Central Pennsylvania Food Bank is committed to fighting hunger, improving lives, and strengthening communities by serving more than 250,000 individuals each month through a channel of more than 1,100 partner agencies. We don't do this work alone. Through a mix of private, local, state, and federal funds, we are able to source more than 70 million pounds of food to meet the needs of our neighbors. But surprisingly, this number pales in comparison to the incredible impact of SNAP in our communities. For every one meal we deliver in the charitable food system, SNAP delivers 9 and fuels local economies. This is why this moment is of great importance. Cuts to SNAP will exacerbate the problem of food insecurity at a time when we are already strained. 86% of SNAP households with working age adults who are not receiving disability benefits report earnings during the year. Families, seniors, and veterans in our community work hard every day to build better lives, but they need a strong foundation to succeed. Access to food and healthcare is that foundation, and I have seen that firsthand. Prior to my role here at Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, I served at a local partner agency at a neighboring county and would hear stories of our neighbors doing what it takes to get by. One woman, aged 80, was using SNAP benefits and the local pantry to help meet her food needs and scrapping metal as often as possible to help remediate the cost burdens of other basic needs like housing, heat, and healthcare. We can do better than that. Without SNAP, this woman could very well slip deeper into food insecurity with lasting effects to her health and well-being. We are so thankful for the support of our local, state, and federal advocates to help us with this work. And so I'd like to introduce DHS Secretary Val Arkush for comments.
Good morning, everyone. And Shyla, thank you so much for hosting us today and for really framing some of the challenges that we are facing today. I'm just always so honored to be back here with the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank team. You always welcome us, and the work that we do together is so important. As you heard, they are a critical part of our food security ecosystem, and we could not do our work without them, and they also need SNAP. And it's these two coming together that really make a difference to the lives of so many Pennsylvanians. So as you heard, we are here today, and an honor to be here with Secretary Redding and Senator Kim to discuss threatened cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP. These are changes that fundamentally restructure this federal funded program and potentially puts the entire program and the critical food assistance it provides for nearly 2 million Pennsylvanians at risk. Of those 2 million Pennsylvanians who benefit from SNAP, more than half are older adults or children. Right here in Dauphin County, over 53,000 residents benefit from this program. So let me explain what's happening. Currently, Republicans in Congress are in the midst of a budget process that is seeking to cut essential federal programs focused on the health and the stability of Pennsylvania families, primarily Medicaid and SNAP. These proposed changes to SNAP would fundamentally alter how this program has been structured for the better part of the last century. Should these proposals become law, vulnerable children, people with disabilities, older Pennsylvanians, and many others could lose access to this critical lifeline of support that can only be used to purchase food. Food that we all need to live and to grow and to be able to show up at work and school, ready to work hard or to learn. And these changes will ripple throughout our Commonwealth and will further destabilize our agricultural economy and our workforce. The bill makes existing SNAP work requirements harder to comply with and increases red tape for participants. As a result, we believe at least 140,000 Pennsylvanians could lose access to food assistance that helps people be healthy enough to work in the first place. We all want the Pennsylvanians we serve to have the skills and the supports to find a job that they're excited about and that they can do well in and help to care for their own families. And that is why we already partner with many entities that are doing workforce training and teaching other skills to enable our SNAP recipients to successfully find work and stay with that work. Mandatory work requirements have never been shown to help a person get or keep a job or address the social, educational, and environmental barriers that keep people in a cycle of poverty. Instead, mandatory work requirements create administrative red tape that will cost Pennsylvania taxpayers millions of dollars to implement and will end up causing people to lose their benefits even if they're working or still eligible. In addition to these new unfunded administrative requirements, the congressional Republican SNAP cuts would shift as much as 25% of the benefit costs to states. These are benefit costs that are currently 100% paid for with federal dollars. In total, these unprecedented and unfunded mandates would put Pennsylvania on the hook for more than $1 billion each year to operate the SNAP program and maintain this essential assistance. Governor Shapiro has made clear that Pennsylvania cannot backfill $1 billion in cuts. This approach jeopardizes the sustainability of the entire SNAP program should they go through as passed by the House. The result would be devastating for Pennsylvania's families and our economy. And as you heard, our incredible and amazing charitable food system cannot bridge this gap. As you heard, for every meal the Charitable Food Network provides, SNAP allows the purchase of 9. So again, there's just no scenario under which our Charitable Food Network could step up to fill that kind of a gap. These changes will also impact economic activity for food retailers and producers and farmers and negatively impact this workforce. SNAP generates nearly $474 million in grocery wages and supports more than 12,000 grocery industry jobs in the Commonwealth. Spending from SNAP represents a crucial source of revenue for farmers and in our retail grocery stores, especially for those smaller mom and pop stores that are often just very locally owned and sometimes the only point of access for fresh fruits and vegetables in a community. I'm deeply concerned about the impact these changes will have on our families in all of our communities and the potential for increase in food insecurity statewide. SNAP helps people meet one of our most essential needs, food on our plates. This allows our neighbors or classmates to participate fully in work and school and live a healthier life. As a physician, I know all too well the relationship between a person's diet and their health. And I've also seen over and over again what happens when people don't have the ability to purchase and eat healthy food. Reliable access to healthy foods and the inherent dignity that comes from knowing you can feed yourself and your family can make a difference in both a person's physical well-being and their mental well-being. And finally, the loss of SNAP benefits has been shown to correlate with increased costs in Pennsylvania's Medicaid program. No surprise there that when people with food-sensitive conditions like diabetes or severe heart disease lose access to healthy food, their health care costs rise. And we see that borne out in our Medicaid spending for people who have conditions like diabetes who lose access to their SNAP benefits. These proposed cuts to SNAP make no sense. They will lead to many more hungry kids and older adults who will be less healthy, and they will increase Pennsylvania's spending in our Medicaid program. They will put jobs in Pennsylvania's grocery industry at risk. And at the same time, they will cost Pennsylvania taxpayers millions of dollars to implement and put further strain on our charitable food network. SNAP is a direct investment in our health and well-being and provides an economic boost to food retailers, producers, and growers who accept SNAP. This is our country's most important anti-hunger program, and we must protect SNAP and the people that it serves every single day. I'd like to just remind everyone that right now today, SNAP is still available to you here in the Commonwealth. There have been no actual changes yet. So if you feel that you would benefit from SNAP, check out SNAP on our website at dhs.pa.gov/compass. And this is the time to act. You have an opportunity to reach out to our United States senators and our United States congressional members and let them know how important SNAP is to you and your family. It's not too late to educate the people that represent you in our U.S. Congress about how important this plan is for you and your family and your friends and your neighbors. So please take that step. Help preserve SNAP before it's too late. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to introduce Julie Bancroft from Feeding PA.
Thank you, Secretary Arkush. Good morning. I'm here on behalf of our 9 Feeding America food banks, which serve neighbors across the Commonwealth. I'm privileged to be part of a network that rises with resilience in the most challenging times. But challenging is an understatement of the current reality. Last fall, before we had new data showing food insecurity had increased 40% over 2 years, before $13 million in federal funding to purchase nutritious foods from local agricultural producers, and millions of pounds of federal commodities were canceled. Before all of that happened, we were already advocating for additional investments in our key state anti-hunger programs like the agricultural surplus system and the state food purchase program, in an attempt to keep pace with the need to ensure our neighbors have access to the healthy foods they need to thrive. Fast forward a few months, and we're facing the deepest cuts to SNAP and Medicaid in history, combined cuts of $1 trillion. These cuts to SNAP threaten the support of more than 2 million people in Pennsylvania alone, including more than 500,000 children and 300,000 seniors. We know that, as Secretary Arkush mentioned, hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians stand to lose some or all of their benefits, and rural communities and children stand to be most impacted. Federal budget reconciliation proposals shift SNAP benefits costs to states. For Pennsylvania, this means up to $1 billion in new state spending, and that equals almost 400 million meals. Shifting these costs will inevitably force cuts to food assistance programs, hurt our communities, and most importantly, imperil our neighbors. What will happen if we can't cover these costs? Across the country, SNAP provides more meals than the entire charitable food network combined distributes in a year. Individuals who use SNAP often turn to pantries at the end of the month to supplement their benefits. Food banks are efficient and effective, but cannot replace the scale of federal programs. Plain and simple, there will not be enough resources to reach our rural communities, help our seniors put food on the table, and feed Pennsylvania's children. Hunger is solvable. Protecting SNAP and Medicaid means everyone has the chance at a healthy, thriving life. Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce Senator Patty Kim.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie, and good morning. It is so great to be back at the Central PA Food Bank. I've been in this area for 25 years, feeling older. And through that time, this food bank has had such a reputable reputation. They work so hard that they make the product, the results look so easy and seamless. So thank you, Shiloh, and for Joe for all that you do. You are a lifeline in our community. I'm also so proud to stand next to these 2 secretaries. I think they're probably the top 2 best in the administration. We have Secretary Redding, who is so in tune with agriculture, the farmers, and what's going on when it comes to growing and having it on your plate. And then we have Dr. Val Arkush, who understands what is going on, and she cares. It was very heartening to hear that one of the U.S. senators in Pennsylvania called her office to see what these SNAP benefits or cuts would mean to Pennsylvania. I am glad they're reaching out and understanding the magnitude of what can happen. Sometimes I'll volunteer at a food bank, and when we're giving folks the produce, food, whatever, many times recipients don't even look you in the eye. They're probably a little bit embarrassed. They don't want to be there. And it's hard. It's hard to come out of your way, past a grocery store, and go to a food bank sometimes. The folks in Congress are making this sound like a luxury, folks. That this is something that we love to do, and we're just giving out food and money like it's nothing. This is important stuff. And the idea of having this hurt so many of our family and children is heartbreaking. So one of my colleagues in the Senate says, let's just wait and see what happens in Congress. Are you kidding me? Wait and see? We need to push back now. Push back now, and we don't even want to see it come down. So I know that there are families who are struggling day to day. They don't have time. They can't hire lobbyists. They can't come out and talk to their congresspeople, but the volunteers. You guys are run by volunteers. If we could get the army of volunteers to make those calls to U.S. senators, to whoever who are making the decision in Congress, we can make an impact. The president has been shown to change his mind. And if he understands, if Congress understands the impact, this is not the road to least resistance. We need to push back and make sure that we keep our SNAP benefits. And lastly, as I am working on this budget, an on-time budget, a balanced budget, we'll see. But as Secretary Arkush said, $1 billion hole in our budget is massive, and we can't recuperate after that. So thank you guys. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the fight, but this is important for the people who can't take the time to come out and fight for themselves. With that, I am so honored to bring up Agriculture Secretary Russell Redding, superstar in our administration, to give us a few words. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you. Senator, thank you. One of the challenges when you're at the end of the line, the best thing that I could say is amen, right? If you listen to the story, and by the way, I'm sort of comforted standing here. Every time that I come in the food bank, I'm reminded about our abundance, about what we enjoy, how much I enjoy eating, how much I appreciate a system that works and functions and recognizes that we have connections in a state that has got this powerhouse of agriculture. At the same time, we have 10% of our population that doesn't know what they will have for dinner. They don't know, right? In a state of this amazing sort of muscle around agriculture, as a nation, you make the same case. Right? Amazing capacity. And I think for 70 years, we have built this amazing partnership of having food and nutrition integrated as part of our agricultural and food policy in our nation. 70 years. What's happening today changes 70 years of progress. It decouples what we see as our agricultural needs and capacity building and where we see the needs of our greater society. Food and nutrition. It's a basic human right. So the disappointment is multiple, right? The disappointment in the narrative that we've heard about what people have and what they need. The disappointment of what it is that we can do as a public and as a government. The disappointment that we have seen by the House and Senate Republicans to intentionally change 70 years of a system that brought us together, that recognizes that for farmers to do well, society needs to do well, and vice versa, right? That at the end of the day, you can argue about many things, and probably should, but never about whether you feed somebody. And that is what is playing out as we speak. So to the Senator's point, we need your voice, right? We need to recognize that there are folks who hopefully see these connections. The Senate is at least entertaining some of those conversations, unlike the House, but we need you to weigh in on that. We need to recognize that this is more than just about food. There are economic benefits here. This is an economic issue. There's a reason that it's part of a budget conversation. It's economic, right? and making sure that we reveal to folks, when you invest $1 in SNAP, there's $1.50 that comes back to the local economy. That when you look at the list of the top 10 items that are purchased in the SNAP program, they happen to look like the top 10 of any other consumer, by the way. But it looks like Pennsylvania agriculture. It's poultry, it's dairy, it's butter, it's eggs, it's bread, they're staples, right? 7 of the top 10. And maybe a surprise to some, but 3 of the top 5 counties for SNAP eligible are rural. They're rural counties. Everybody thinks about the urban centers of Dauphin and others. Yes, they're important, but by percentage of SNAP participants, 3 of the top 5 are rural. So folks are voting against their own interest here. They're also not recognizing the people who are in those communities. Are really important to them, they're important to Pennsylvania. So that is the disappointment, that is the challenge, to make sure that we are raising our voices. I appreciate the Secretary always being with her in a cabinet and with her voice. We are in partnership in so many ways. This is another one of those demonstrations, right? We have a piece of this on the farm and ag side. Ultimately, it's about a program benefit that gets administered through DHS. But it is one Congress. It's one Congress. So we need to make sure that we stay focused on that. So I want to say thank you certainly to our friends in the food banks, the charitable food system. We have a shared responsibility. The volunteers see that for sure. The folks in the food banks see that, and the farms across Pennsylvania see that. This is the partnership. You make sure that partnership holds, that it remains strong. That partnership is with many folks who are not here but referenced today. The grocery stores, the dock workers, the volunteers, the food processors, right? The grocery store clerks, all of that is part of this conversation about what is being impacted here through this potential cut. And then final to say that I'm always proud that we live where we live and govern by who we're governed by in Pennsylvania, right? Our values haven't changed. The governor said it multiple times, and it sort of resonated with me that this is part of our challenges, that our values have shifted, that we have lost sight of what it is that we hold most dear in our communities are the people and neighbors and food, right? When you have food, you have a functioning society, right? And we need to make sure that those values remain true. And the values in this governor's budget around the PASS program, which we have seen across Pennsylvania, the state food purchase program, the loss of the LFPA, which you've heard the governor talk about at length. But we're also in a state that's got food really central to our budget and our policies. And that is an important value. It recognizes that. We just now need Congress to recognize the same, right? So with that, let me just say thank you again to Shyla and the team here, to the board, to the full partnership in making sure that we stay focused on those values and recognize that SNAP deserves our investment, not our judgment. So thank you. Good to be here and always proud to stand with this team. Thank you. Entertain questions, comments? Anything we missed?
Why does it always seem like, and this might be your opinion, that things like SNAP or Medicare, they're always the target of cuts? This isn't the first press conference I've been to where they're the target of cuts. It's not the first time you've talked about it. What don't people get that control the purse strings that make this so important?
Yeah, I think it goes back, well, there's two parts to it. One is the setup in Congress to get to a point of a number, right? So you have to back up a little bit. You recall that on the House side, the Speaker basically handed a number to the Ag Committee and said, you've got to find, at that point, it was $230 billion. So part of it's just sort of math, right? They were given a number and the House sort of worked at the number. On the other side of the chamber, the Senate had started with $1 billion. So in some respects, you're sort of more disappointed than the Senate just because they didn't start at the same number, the U.S. Senate. So part of it's a number, right? If you look at the Ag Committee, there's no question the total farm bill spending, 83% of the total expenditures are for food nutrition, right? Big portion of that is the SNAP program. Two, I do believe that it is about values. I think there are people who are completely clueless when you see the connectedness between what we produce in this country and spend a lot of money to make sure that system remains strong, and then are missing the point that on the other side, these are folks in the SNAP program who are consumers. They're just in need of a little extra help. So there's a value question and a budget question. Secretary.
Yeah, and I would add to that the individuals who are most at risk for losing these benefits, as Senator Kim noted, they can't hire a lobbyist. They are not big political donors. They are just everyday folks, our friends, our neighbors, people driving, a car for a living, people cleaning houses, they're just regular folks. And it's very hard sometimes for them to make their voices heard. They're so busy. Many of the folks that we serve in these programs, they're working multiple jobs. They don't have time to try to make a call or, write a letter or send an email to their member of Congress. And so their voices just don't always get heard. And I think it's really important, and that's why we're here. We want to make sure, we want to be their voice and make sure that the folks that are making these decisions understand that the folks whose food they're literally trying to take off their table are mostly older Pennsylvanians and kids right here in the Commonwealth. So we just want to lift that message up and really help these legislators understand the kind of policy decisions that they're making and what the impact's going to be right here in the Commonwealth.
And then quickly, these cuts are under the banner of waste, fraud, and abuse. And it is an understanding that SNAP, there's maybe 1% of fraud, one of the lowest percentages with all of the programs there. So that's not true. It's just a terrible excuse to hurt the most vulnerable.
Other questions, comments? Okay, if not, we'll end where we began with a simple thank you. Appreciate Shiloh hosting. Thank you to the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank and to the team. Thank you. Very good. Okay, thanks.
Hi. Good, how are you? I'm fine. Just bebopping around. Bebopping. Am I bothering you?
Hey, how are you? So good to see you.
say it all the time. A lot of things we say. I'm standing, right? And I think show people.
But they need a strong foundation to succeed. Access to food and healthcare is that foundation, and I have seen that firsthand. Prior to my role here at Central Pennsylvania Food Bank with lasting effects to her health and well-being. We are so thankful for the support of our local, state, and federal advocates to help us with this work, and so I'd like to
That's happening. Currently, Republicans in Congress are in the midst of a budget process that is seeking to cut essential federal programs focused on the health and the stability of these. And that is why we already partner with many entities that are doing workforce training and teaching other skills to enable our SNAP recipients to successfully find work and stay with that work.
A thriving life. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce Senator Patty Kim.
Benefits or cuts would mean to Pennsylvania. I am glad they're reaching out and understanding the magnitude of what can happen. Folks, the produce, food, whatever, many times recipients don't even look you in the eye. They're probably a little bit embarrassed. They don't want to be there.
Everybody needs to do well, and vice versa. Right? That at the end of the day, you can argue about many things, and probably should, but never about whether you feed somebody. And that is what is playing out as we speak. We reveal to folks, when you invest $1 in SNAP, there's $1.50